Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit or Zappy here, back again with Ghost in the Shell Season 1, Episode 4. So yeah, last episode I thought that we were going to get back into the sort of overarching story because, like I said in the last episode, it seems as though there is standalone episodes and complex ones. Complex ones reveal, basically revealing the overarching story, everything like that. Standalone are just, self-contained little stories that sort of allow for world building and stuff like that. So I love the the way that they tell the story in that regard, because I've always been a fan of world building and just having time with the characters as well, because that means you can have like character development and get associated with those characters, because a lot of the time, depending on how how prevalent the proper story is and the plot and everything, sometimes it can like overshadow character development, things like that, or especially when it's like you're new to a show and you're like trying to get an idea of what these characters are like, what their motivations are, what their ideologies are and everything like that. And if you have everything like too everything just all happening at once, it's easy to sort of get it can become very convoluted and everything like that. And especially for a show like this, that where there's a lot of information going on, and I'm still getting used to everything. I like the way that the show has set it all out in that regard. So yeah, but I thought last episode would have been as like a one-off kind of deal. So every other episode you would have to be dealing with the overarching story, but it wasn't. It was just a standalone thing that had little connotations that could have led to something similar to episode 1, like they were throwing those out there, but it just ended up being standalone. But yeah, I loved the story, and especially how it came across in the end. And I love it's that interest. The standalone episodes I'm really loving, because I talked about I like the fact because it allows for world building and spending some time with the characters and learning about them. But I love the fact that it's just a mystery from from the start to the end, and it's at the end it all becomes kind of clear and everything, right? And so from now on, whenever a standalone episode comes up, I'm gonna try it's hard because the amount of information that you get, but try and just piece it together quicker if I can, or try and look out for little details as it goes, because I'm really liking them. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else to really talk about. We're just going to get into episode 4 and see if it's a complex one or another standalone. Either way, I'm absolutely fine with it. But yeah, so if you do want to actually watch the reaction, then the 10-minute version is the link in the description. There's also the link to the full length there. If you do want to watch it in full, then the offer's there for you. But yeah, nothing else to really talk about. So we're going to get in episode 4 and see what we get. Without further ado, let's go. Okay, episode 4. Interesting. So, there's something with the Laughing Man, and that is, I don't know if that is going to be now our main antagonist in regards to the overarching story. So everything that is going on with the complex episodes, we'll get more and more into the Laughing Man thing until we eventually find him at the end, something like that. But it was a thing that had happened in the past, and it was a major incident, something that had happened. And then from then on, it seemed as though the things that he was doing was what Kusanagi referred to as mediocre and not really anything big. And I wonder if it's a case of because he was just waiting for the correct moment to strike, or if he was building up to something, he needed time. So instead of and if it's basically he's just been biding his time, and it seems as though now it's getting to the point where he's ready to really showcase something, because we had the name it's Dido, right? So the Superintendent General, who was basically, did they say that he was the Chief of Police back at the time when that incident happened, or he was basically head of the investigation or something like that, right? and that at that point, either he was an inside man that had already been put into the system, and then they just made use of him then, or it was a case of like the superintendent general just like had some, like maybe he was being blackmailed or bribed or whatever the case by the Laughing Man. Like basically the Laughing Man could have had something on him and therefore brought him into the fold, and then from then on it was just a case of like he was calling it at the end there, he was calling it like a farce, as like almost as if like he's talking about the farce of the superintendent general. He's talking about this bullshit story that he literally just made up on TV about how the chief Nebu, right, is he made sure that the other people, the other investigators and everything like that in that police force had been given the interceptors and everything like that, so that he would be able to see if anyone was lying, or anybody knew something that they weren't telling, things like that. But I mean, yeah, you could call it bullshit straight away with him, couldn't you? Sort of. But I'm not sure if he has them, because it almost seemed at the end there, like, all right, it's one thing on the like on TV and watching it on TV, and you're seeing that thing plastered over to Takakawa's face, but it seemed as though the superintendent general was also like, what's going on there? Like he's also being affected, So I don't know if that was something within like an interceptor affecting that, because essentially what they described it as is sensory perception, so that it can say, like, almost in an illusion type sense, make you think that you're seeing something when you're actually not. In a way, I guess it's sort of like like sort of AR in a way, like alternate reality kind of stuff, which I wouldn't be surprised if that is something that we this world has. But yeah, I mean that whole sort of technology and whatnot comes out of Serrano. What was it? Like Genopics or something like that. Something like that. Anyway, Serrano, yeah. So that's where all that kind of stuff, the interceptors, all of that stuff comes from there. And that was the company that was involved back then in the incident. Or it was like one before, basically like the first thing that that the Laughing Man, the company that he sort of got a hold of, right? Got a hold of the technology that they were using there. And I mean, when you're a hacker, being able to sort of tap in to like these interceptors that can affect what people see, that's a big deal. You know what I mean? Like that's definitely one of the things that you would want, right? But he has like the Laughing Man. He does have a weird way of looking at the world, like in a way, because he talks about this whole thing of that. The Laughing Man is obviously it's an alias, right? And then he referred to him and like an entourage, or like some like another group of people that would be considered the comedy troupe, which so it's like it's like he's using around like his chess pieces are like as pawns in a way, like in his game, and they're under him for some reason, and I don't know if it's due to the fact that the Laughing Man has he has information on them, if he's blackmailed them, or they just chose to follow him. The interesting thing as well was that like the Laughing Man, like he said, even though you may not know who I am, right, or like it's been a while. So it's something that I don't know if the superintendent general, maybe a deal was struck. What if it was like this? What if a deal was struck where the superintendent general was given an ultimatum, like something that, like, or like it would have been the Laughing Man, I don't know, hacked into his home computer or something and like gave him like a deal to be made. It's like, well, if you allow me to do this, I'll allow you to solve the crime to maybe a certain extent, which would get you a promotion or something like that, right? And then it would be a thing of like, once that deal's done, I'll let you go on with your life. And then maybe he's never heard from him since then, and now it's like, oh shit, he's back, and he knows all the secrets and everything. So now it's a case of blackmail now. So maybe it could be like in that sort of that way inclined. And about the comedy troupe, I don't know who he's referring to in terms of who the other people are or what. But it's almost like he has people on the inside that's able to give these interceptors out to a bunch of different people, and it almost seems like the Laughing Man is obviously using those to get himself around in a way. Like, I feel like the Laughing Man was in control of Chief Nebu, for example, in the very beginning of the episode. Or he's like seeing through it, so he was aware of what was going on, and then from then on, the Laughing Man, like, I guess he knew that he would have to interfere with Yamaguchi, and he did so when he was on the road, which forced him to lose control and like perish. So there's that. So yeah, I think that's just going to be the case. We're going to be tracking down this guy in the complex episodes, and yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how the Laughing Man plays it. Is in a case like, is it going to be that difficult? Because all I'm thinking is, like, in these previous episodes, generally the way to get to the to get information, it seems relatively easy for Section 9. Like, they go in, they hook themselves up, and they sort of just backtrack all the data to where it originated from, and then they already have a location. And now that is obviously in relation to like small time people who aren't even criminals. They're just like doing their own thing. They're not really mass criminals in that regard. Whereas this guy seems to, being a super class A hacker means that he probably has that, he has the expertise to keep himself anonymous and make sure that he covers his tracks, kind of thing, So it's definitely going to be an interesting fight between those two, because as of right now, we haven't seen Section 9 deal with that kind of big, we haven't seen them deal with this kind of thing before. So it's going to be interesting to see them, especially like if they get to a point where it's like, we've got no leads now, what do we do? And just see how they handle it in a way, That'd be cool. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all. Like, I mean, we've got like little things like, Kusanagi seems to have this almost like motherly sort of thing with Togusa, where she seems to look out for him in a way. I know that she was the one that said, like, back in episode 1 that we brought you in from the police, right? But I don't know if that was her specifically, that, like, maybe on a mission that she was doing, Togusa was involved. She saw that he was, like really good. Maybe she was, maybe she saw his, like, detective skills or something like that and was like, we could use you on the team, and she's the one that brought him in, and therefore she has this sort of, just looking over him, just seeing how he's doing and how he's fitting in, because she's the one that brought him in. I don't know if that's what it is or not, but she definitely does have that kind of like either like big sisterly feel or like the like a motherly feel, just looking over him. So yeah, there's that. I don't know if Takakawa's dead, the guy who got taken over there. And also, I mean, see, that's the thing, isn't it? That's the thing with like cybernetics and stuff. It's just like, if someone who has the knowledge and expertise to just fucking go in and fuck around with you from a distance because you're part of the system, then that can be done, that'll be interesting as well if that's something that ends up happening to like Kusanagi, for example. You know, because her being fully cybernetic, I don't know if it. You know, if she gets taken over, that could be really interesting, also dangerous. You know, but yeah, because I mean, Section 9 as well. Like, you could have a whole like you could have the arc go to a point where it's like the hacking man ends up hacking into Section 9 and getting a load of like all of their files and everything like that, and then it's a case of he can now blackmail Section 9 in a way, and it's like, well, I'll just release all this to the public kind of thing. There's like a bunch of different routes it could go down. You know. And I mean, that's the thing as well, is like, we were told a little bit of information on the guy that the incident that they were referring to was when the fact that, you know, he kidnapped the president. So if he can kidnap the president, then, you know, it's like, it seems that it's like a lot of things are very much child's play to him, you know. And I don't think this whole thing of Kusanagi talking about how his stuff was mediocre after all of that, I don't think that is. I think the Laughing Man's fine with that. Like I said, I think he was just. It has a feeling of like he was just biding his time, and it's not a case of, you know. It's not a case of this guy's just not as good as people thought that he was. I think he is. I think he's going to be really good. You know, but it's just a case of like right time, right moment kind of thing. You know, and maybe he was, just biding his time. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I got. So yeah, interested to see where the story goes from here. I mean, well, I was going to say, I'm going to guess like next episode is going to be another standalone one, but you know, I don't know at this point. I don't know, like there doesn't seem to be an order, because we've had 4 episodes, first and fourth are the complex ones, you know. So unless the order is going to be complex, standalone, complex, standalone, complex, you know, and that's going to be that. I don't think there is an order. It's just a case of like whatever crops up in the timeline, you know, because that will be really cool if everything is playing along at the same, like obviously like in order each episode, but like, you know, next episode could be another complex one, and it's like, right, you know, it's like part 2 of episode 4. And they go into, you know, trying to find him out. They hit a dead end, and then the episode after that would be a standalone one. And it's like, you know, maybe in the standalone one they might come across something that has relevance and could help them out, in, you know, in the complex episode. So, and you know, all of that. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got. So thank you everyone for watching. In the description below I've listed certain things. One of them is the Discord, so you can get yourself over there if you wish. And you can also get access to episode 5 and 6 right now if you don't want to wait another week. You know, so if you get early access over on our Patreon, then you know you can get those episodes right now. There's also a link to the full length in the description below, like I always say. Of course, you would have to be a full-length tier patron, but that gives you access to all the full-length to all my other episodes. And then there are other tiers where you can pay to have a show reacted to as well. So yeah, that's all I've got. So thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.